I now pass the floor to Ms. Samantha Cristoforetti.
Dear Madam President Metsola, dear President Michel, President von der Leyen, dear Dr. Ebadi, dear members of the European Parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is an immense honor for me to be here today. I'm very grateful for the invitation to participate in the Parliament celebration of International Women's Day, and I'm truly humbled by the opportunity of speaking here today at the center of our European democracy and decision-making. And I am humbled by the opportunity of taking the floor just before Dr. Ebadi, a woman who has been a true champion of women's rights in the face of brutal discrimination and who has suffered terrible personal consequences for her willingness to fight. And for that, I thank you, Dr. Ebadi. As an astronaut of ESA, the European Space Agency, I would like to take this opportunity to talk to you about what I know best, which is the European space activities, the role of ESA, and the synergies with the European Union. Space is out there, but it's also here among us every day. It's an essential element of everyday life. We take it for granted. Sometimes we even don't notice it. And yet space is woven into the fabric of every modern society. It is well known that we rely on space assets to provide important services like Earth observation, communication, navigation, services that we need, for example, for environmental monitoring, to mitigate the consequences of climate change, for weather forecast, disaster response, internet access, TV broadcasting, even smart traffic. Space assets are even crucial for energy provision or financial transactions and many other vital economic functions. And ESA works constantly to ensure that these essential services are secured and that all relevant assets are managed efficiently and remain available to support the policies that you, the political decision makers, set for us, for the benefits of European citizens, be it about climate change, the green transition, the digital transformation, sustainable development, or inclusiveness. And let us not forget security. I think that the grim political context that we are facing these days has highlighted the importance of security-related space activities. And as you know, last Friday, the Commission and the High Representative presented for the first time a joint communication on a European strategy for security and defense, a European space strategy for security and defense. And the European Parliament will play a crucial role, and ESA will provide its contribution. But space is also a powerful engine of prosperity and economic growth. Today, the global space market is already worth about $340 billion US. And by the late 2030s, by some estimates, space could generate a revenue of $1 trillion US. And such tremendous growth potential can be in part ascribed to a profound transformation of our industry, often referred to as the new space revolution. New players are getting involved, often from outside of the traditional space sector. Old and new companies pursue profit and growth through novel business models. Risk sharing with public institutions through public-private partnerships, and early financing through venture capital. The reduction in the cost of access to space, brought about, for example, by the reusability of launchers, has made mega constellations a reality. The miniaturization of electronics has made satellite platforms smaller and cheaper, and yet more capable and versatile. Let me add, however, in all honesty, that many of these new space developments are far more advanced in North America than they are here in Europe. Still, the opportunities are there for Europe to take if we choose to be ambitious in our goals and pursuits. ESA's member states have already raised the level of ambition. Our ministerial meeting last November in Paris secured a record budget of 16.9 billion euros for the coming 3 years. That is a 17% increase with respect to the preceding ministerial back in 2019. A clear sign that our member states understand space as a strategic component of our industrial and technological sovereignty. ESA brings world-class expertise, unique know-how in the area of space, science, technology, and applications, along with its rich experience in space project management. But an ambitious European approach needs partnerships with national institutions, academia, industry, and with the European Union. ESA and the European Union each bring their specific mandates, competencies, and strengths to the table. ESA's Agenda 2025, which was published on the very first day in office of ESA's Director General, Josef Aschbacher, lists a renewed and enforced partnership between ESA and the EU as a top priority. ESA and the EU have embarked on major common success stories. Copernicus, the world's largest and most successful Earth observation program, providing decision makers, researchers, entrepreneurs, and the public with information on the state of our planet. Galileo, Europe's own global navigation satellite system, providing a highly accurate, guaranteed global positioning service under civilian control, featuring the world's most accurate navigation system. And the new Secure Connectivity IRIS² program, which will provide a new, sovereign, and secure space-based communication infrastructure in Europe to improve strategic autonomy, digital resilience, security, technological non-dependence, and commercial competitiveness. Many in the European Parliament may not know, but ESA was at the origin of both flagship programs, Copernicus and Galileo. And ESA is grateful that the EU and the European Parliament stepped up to the challenge and enabled what have become two of the world's most successful space programs. We can all be proud of these achievements, and ESA is particularly grateful to implement these programs together with the EU. At ESA, we have a full agenda this year. Among other things, we are tackling the critical European launcher situation, with the top priority of restoring independent access to space for Europe. In Copernicus, we're preparing the next generation Sentinel satellites, and we do need to close a funding gap of 721 million euros. The European Parliament's support will be crucial to achieve this. We will also launch two exciting new science missions: JUICE, to explore the icy moons of Jupiter in April, and Euclid, with which we will better understand dark matter and dark energy in July. Ladies and gentlemen, Europe has a rich history of space achievements, including what is possibly dearest to me in human spaceflight. Through our partnership in the International Space Station, we have secured opportunities for Europeans to fly to space, and for European scientists to do research in microgravity. We are a strong partner in the NASA-led Artemis program of lunar exploration, providing the European service module for the Orion spacecraft, and a significant portion of Gateway, a space station that will fly in lunar orbit. Together with NASA, we intend to retrieve and bring back to Earth samples of Martian soil. As a member of the European Astronaut Corps, I myself had twice the privilege of representing Europe in space. Thank you. Madam President, when we spoke for the first time last September, I was serving as commander of the International Space Station, the first European woman to do so, but certainly not the last. At ESA, just last year, we selected a new class of career and reserve astronauts, and over half of them are women. And let me add that we selected these new colleagues of mine out of over 23,000 applicants throughout Europe. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of space to inspire, to spark passions in our youngsters around Europe. As an astronaut, I have witnessed that many times, how space can spark passions and dreams. Those passions and dreams that make our youngsters choose studies, education, and careers in science and technology, so that they acquire those competencies that are so strategically important for Europe, for our research, for our industrial competitiveness, for our entrepreneurship. I have seen how the ability of sending human into space acts as a confidence builder in a society. It builds the confidence that a nation or a community of nations like ours can tackle the really difficult, ambitious challenges. If we can send humans into space, there's nothing we cannot do, right? Let us have that ambition in Europe. I have flown to space twice, once on a Russian Soyuz and once on an American Dragon. Twice I have fulfilled my dream of flying to space. And if I can allow myself at this point in my life one more dream, that dream is that of seeing one day astronauts flying on a European vehicle. Flying our astronauts to space on our own vehicle, welcoming astronauts from other parts of the world on our own European space vehicle. It will be a mighty political, strategic, cultural, psychological, even philosophical symbol. It will be an expression of Europe's ambition to gain a position in space that matches Europe's political and economic weight. It will allow us to continue to cooperate in international partnerships, but do that on a more equal level. It will allow us to not miss out on the enormous strategic and economic opportunities that space offers. And it will allow us to develop and retain in Europe vital STEM talent, and to develop the capabilities, but also the mindset that is needed to solve the many big challenges that we are facing for the benefits of the citizens in Europe and all over the world. Let me conclude by recognizing the important role that the European Parliament and the ITRE committee in particular has played and continues to play in its consistent support of space activities. You have been a competent and reliable partner for ESA in all of our discussions and negotiations, as well as in the preparation of the legislative basis for our common space projects, Galileo, Copernicus, and now IRIS². And it is therefore an incredible honor to be able to hand over today the European flag that flew with me on the International Space Station.